Almost said Dr. Jim Donelon. What do you think, Mr. Jim? Does that sound good to you? Doctor of
Well,
Insurance. You kind of like that, huh?
Not these days. That's a tough gig.
Boy, no kidding.
Yeah,
You're
no
not kidding. Jim Donelon is the
Bye-bye.
insurance commissioner for the state of Louisiana. Mr. Jim, welcome back to Keel. How is all of this, the governor's stay in place, stay at home order, just the entire coronavirus situation, how is that affecting, first of all, driving across the state of Louisiana?
Well, not only in Louisiana, but all across the nation, it is cutting driving mileage dramatically. In fact, to the point where companies have now rebated to their policyholders on their own behalf, on their own initiative, huge amounts of money. In our state, it's $187 million that's coming back to auto insurance policyholders just for that reason. Stay at home has emptied out lots of the traffic jams and congestion, reduced the mileage that drivers are driving all across the state. As a result, the number of accidents has gone down. As a result, the number of claims payments has gone down. And as a result, the companies have said, we're not going to just take this money as profit to our bottom line. We're going to share it with our policyholders. And that is really good news, to the tune of $187 million to Louisiana auto insurance policyholders over the next couple of months.
We'll get back to the individual rebates or refunds in just a couple of seconds. How's about as far as court cases, lawsuits, and stuff like that? I would imagine this is sort of hopefully going to clear things out judicially a little bit.
Well, yes. I'm told that the courts are closed in most jurisdictions because of the stay at home. So that will certainly at least slow down the amount of litigation that's filed, and it will reduce the overall total number of lawsuits that's filed during this period of diminished driving mileage and diminished accidents. No question about that. So as an overall effect, yes, it will reduce claims and losses for insurers, which will show up in future rate filings that are made for rate increases, or maybe even, as we've seen with State Farm over the past 18 months, rate decreases if things improve in that area.
Jim, I saw my insurance company has lowered rates. I saw Allstate had, I think State Farm has, as you mentioned. Are they all? Can you force them to lower their rates?
Actually, it's a great question, Aaron. And the answer to your second question is no, I cannot. The standard across America in all 50 states for rate setting, subject to actuarial review, is they cannot be excessive, they cannot be inadequate addressing the issue we had back in the 90s when we had Champion and many other insurers go under as a result of their insolvency, costing the state $150 million, actually, the non-standard auto insurance collapse in the 90s. Those folks, in many cases, were riding the crest. They were undercharging for the price of their product, paying themselves big salaries, maybe taking bonuses out of the company, knowing that it was going to go off the cliff eventually. And when that happened, that those companies and their obligations fell to the guarantee fund, which is backed by the state, by an assessment of forgiveness on premium taxes. So the criteria is they can't be excessive, inadequate, or unfairly discriminatory. What that means is they can charge young males more than they do middle-aged males, and they can charge older males more than they do middle-aged males, and et cetera, with female drivers or whatever. That's not considered unfair discrimination because it's actuarially justified and demonstrated that young males or very old males have more accidents, more losses, et cetera, and therefore can be charged more as a result.
You know, Mr. Jim,
only two states, to your question, though, Aaron, have the authority to order companies to file rates and lower their rates. That's Florida and California.
For better or worse, I'm that guy who just never pays attention to his bank account one way or the other. So I don't know if I've gotten a check back yet, if I've gotten a rebate. If Erin has, I'm sure she would have let us all know a couple of times. Across the state, have the insured gotten any money back yet? What's the timetable?
The timetable, generally speaking, and it varies. There's 18 companies that we've picked up on so far that have been doing this, started to do this rebate or credit, or even in the case of the changed companies, sending a check out. But if you haven't changed companies, as most folks have not, in the past 2 months, over the next 2 months, you will get typically a 15 to 20% credit against your monthly premium debt that you owe to the company for March and April premiums that are being reduced, showing up in May and June renewal notices with that credit shown on it. So it varies company to company. If your listeners have any questions about how it's being implemented by Progressive or by State Farm or Farm Bureau, they should reach out to their agent and find out, or call us at 800-259-5300, or go to our website. We have a link to these rebates under our COVID link, a COVID-19 link, and they're available there, but without the detail that your agent can provide, or we can provide for those that have filed with us for approval to send this rebate to their policyholders.
So, Mr. Jim, how long will these rates be in effect, the reductions be in effect? And what I mean by that is, in about 2 or 3 or 6 months, is Erin going to look at her insurance and, holy cow, I just got a 25% increase?
It might look like that. I hadn't thought about that shock effect down the road. As you can tell, as you know, probably folks will not notice the rebate or credit or reduction in their premium as those renewals come in the next 2 months, but they will more likely notice when it goes up from one month to another. And we're there to explain that. We can handle that when the phone calls start coming in. But yes, it's done on your renewal for 2 months. Typically, Geico, for example, is and they're the second largest company in giving back to their policyholders in our state. Of our $187 million, State Farm is first, but they have 30% of our market with 71 million of that, and Geico is second with 43 million, and that's because their monthly reduction is 15%, but not just for the typical 2 months that the other companies are doing. It's over a 6-month period of time. So it adds up to 43 million in the case of Geico insurance. But yeah, it will be done probably for the 90% or more of the folks without notice, other than those who say, "Oh my goodness, look, my rate went down." Most folks are not paying that close of attention, unfortunately. Will not notice it, but might notice it going back up when that 2 months or 6 months has run its course.
We got a report from state police that show Louisiana has actually seen, I was kind of surprised, a slight increase in fatal accidents during this time compared to last year, despite the fact that roads are a lot less traveled, and they're attributing it to careless and distracted driving right now, even though there's so many fewer of us on the road. Is that shocking to see that number for you?
No question, Aaron. That is really amazing because obviously I see it. I haven't been up to Shreveport in a couple of months, actually, unfortunately, being ordered to stay in place. But I do see it in my travels to and into and out of Baton Rouge, which was, as you probably are aware, gridlock city traffic-wise over the past several years. Mm-hmm. It's easy flowing in and out. So yes, that's really kind of surprising. And then when you think a little further about it, if the traffic isn't congested and you can drive 60, 70, I see 80 miles an hour, even through parts of Baton Rouge and New Orleans, then, and I will also say that I have seen news coverage that indicates that the sheriff's offices are addressing issues with testing, drive-through testing, traffic and congestion, answering emergency phone calls during this ongoing health crisis, so as to not being able to do the traffic monitoring that local sheriff's offices and maybe even state police are called upon to do. As you know, think over 1,000 National Guard troops have been activated to help with the transport of people and supplies and equipment all across the state. It's quite an effort that has been led by the governor in addressing this crisis and the need of our people.